It's always nice when a story manages to subvert your expectations, and that's definitely the case with bottom tier character Tomozaki or Jaku-Chara Tomozaki-kun, a series that aired in the winter 2021 season. But this is my review of the series. Let you guys know about it and see if it's something you guys want to check out. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Bottom tier character Tomozaki follows a guy named Tomozaki, and he's really good at a game called Attack Families, or as they call it, Tac Fam. It's basically a Smash Bros. Game. And during his normal school life, he's kind of an outcast, doesn't really communicate with anybody, and then he goes home and plays his game. And he's got a mentality that, the real life sucks, that everybody in the real world are either dealt a top tier character or they're dealt a bottom tier character, and he feels that he's given a bottom tier character. And he really does think that the game of life is a terrible game, and that video games are better because they have rules, you can build yourself up. Whereas in the real world, even if you try really hard, you can still fail. And so he just doesn't want to even try at the game of life, as he calls it. And at some point, the second ranked person underneath him in the ranking boards of this TACFAM game ends up communicating to him and wanting to meet in the real life. So he's like, this has been my rival all this time. Never beat me, but it's my rival. They've tried really hard to try to beat me. They have some kind of mutual respect for each other. So he's like, yeah, sure, let's meet in real life. And so he meets at a location, and turns out, as anime usually has it, pretty much one of the most popular girls in schools ends up showing up, and this is the person that has been pretty much his rival. And her name is Hinami. And Hinami basically gets very upset. Not really so much that his rival is this boy, but the fact that her rival is somebody that is basically a societal outcast, somebody that just doesn't care about their appearance, doesn't try at the game of life, just lose a lot of respect for the person that she looked up to when she was playing this game that she also really enjoys. So as she's kind of, talking him down, he's like, what right do you have to talk down to me? You've been given a top tier character. You don't know what it's like to have a bottom tier character, basically. So she takes him back to her place, basically undresses herself of her, makeup and everything, not, naked or anything, but basically gets rid of all the things that she does to make herself look all beautiful and everything, and he almost doesn't recognize her. And so this gets into a conversation about, that the game of life is actually a challenging game, and that she enjoys that game just as much as she likes the game of life, or the game of TrackFam. And through this conversation, she ends up talking him into basically allowing her to help him, so to speak, level up in the game of life, and give him tasks to take on that will improve his social skills, improve his appearances, to the point that he can succeed in the game of life. So he basically decides to allow her to do this and joins in this game of trying to level up in the real world and improve his social standings, basically. And so this begins like a series of, like I said, quests and missions that she assigns to him, like, talk to this one girl 3 times in a week, do this one thing, tease this one person, learn how to communicate, smile more underneath the mask, all these different things that will improve his ability to improve his appearance and improve his social standings in the school and whatnot. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And over time, he'd kind of meet different characters that he's given tasks to communicate with. There's this very popular boy in school that just, really wants to beat him at TAC Fam, and he has his own issues. There's this girl, Yuzu, who wants to, go on a date with this particular boy, and so she wants to learn how to play TAC Fam more. There's a girl in the library, Fuka. Well, it's not really a library, but she does spend a lot of time in the library, and she's into books. And there's this other girl, Minami, and she's really kind of very energetic, and she's really outgoing, but she has kind of this insecurity about what she wants to do for her goals and trying to beat somebody. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. But like I said earlier, the idea of subverting expectations, I honestly, coming into this show, I really wasn't expecting much. I just figured it would be probably a rom-com type show. Just a goofy idea of like essentially an otaku trying to learn social norms and all that kind of stuff, which it really does at first seem very cheesy in the idea that you do have a character that is essentially we're going to like early levels of social interactions here. It is almost kind of in the realm of suspending your disbelief in the idea that this guy, does he really need to learn like basic how to start a conversation? I mean, has he never communicated with his parents or family at least? I mean, I understand the idea of him being a social outcast with, people at school, but we're getting at very basic level stuff here. But it was always done in kind of a playful and fun way, and so it never really felt off-putting. And I really did kind of appreciate the feeling of Tomozaki really try at this and really trying to push himself to getting better and, completing these tasks that Hinami is actually putting before him. But what was interesting is it kind of going beyond this, getting more into the characters and the people that he's interacting with, kind of getting into this idea of, the people around him not really being as unapproachable as he believes they are. And I think that is a nice positive message to kind of give, in the idea that if you feel like you're an outcast, there is still the opportunity of being able to get out there and communicate to people, because not all people are bad. Getting the idea that just because this person is popular doesn't necessarily mean that they're unapproachable and that they're going to, essentially blow you off. And I think that was something I really appreciated. There was a lot of characters that at face value, and I totally thought that might have been a case. They could have totally gotten the idea that he tries to step forward and he tries to step out of this zone that he's in and immediately gets shut down because, oh, who are you to think that you can talk to me kind of mentality, which again is kind of a thing of, I spoke about this in a video I made about the idea of, people that are being, self-isolating or not socializing or being isolated. It's not always easy to step out of your normal comfort zone and just be immediately accepted. And it does technically address some of the ideas of, if you do get in with a group, you still need to speak up because you'll eventually be the punching bag, which is something that I honestly do believe is a thing. So I think it's nice that it is showing the idea of stepping out of your usual zone and not being socially isolating yourself, but still addressing in a very entertaining way and not so much super heavy, that there is still these roadblocks that you'll walk into, and doing it in a way that is actually a positive message. And I really do like that. But I think the thing that I got most out of this series that I thought was the most surprising to me is that as it was going along, I started having a deep down feeling of, is this writer actually going to turn this into something meaningful? Like, you do have a person who is stepping out there and following this person's instructions word for word. Will this eventually get to the point where it's going to have a message? And it actually does, and that's what surprised me. And it is almost kind of sad, because it got to a point where it was like, wow, they're doing something actually really interesting here, and kind of turning it on its head. It actually had the characters come back to the origin point and realize that there's a pivot point in what they're doing, but it technically was at the end. But that's not to say that this story doesn't make an impact, even though that has that feeling of, wow, I almost really want to get into the source material because they're doing something really interesting here. Because it does put a chapter close to the story, it just opens it up to other possibilities going forward. Not that, and I don't feel that I necessarily, I don't want to say that it's a source material bait. It's not that I feel like, oh crap, it's now giving me something for the future. It is something that definitely comes to conclusion, and I felt satisfied with it because it did more than I expected it was going to do. And that was really a lot to do with it hits heavy on the idea of the masks that we put on ourselves. And that's what I said, that it subverts the expectations and the idea that I felt like these characters had one tone to them. And even though I felt that there was a facade always being put up by certain characters, it hits it home with it. It says, no, this isn't right, and technically you're doing this wrong. And I really did like that. Like I said, it subverted my expectations because I didn't think that these characters were going to have a lot going for them. But it's actually doing something very, very clever with its premise. And I texted my brother pretty close to the end of it, and I said, I think I know where this is going. I think the idea here, and this is not really spoiling anything, it's more of an idea of, and I think you'll only get this if you actually watched it, and so that's why I don't think it's necessarily spoilers. You can only read the strategy book for so long. You can only read the strategy guide for so long. And that's what I think it really kind of hits really hard. And I really did like the way that they portrayed that particular message. And that's what I said. It really did surprise me in the end. But I think getting to that point was definitely driven by really excellent characters. I really did enjoy all these characters. Fuka is absolutely adorable. I like what they did with her character, even though unfortunately she wasn't around too much. Minami had pretty much an entire story arc to herself, a good, maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and I really thoroughly enjoyed those. I think she is an absolutely fantastic character. I again, this is one of those things where it subverts your expectations. Minami's story is not, hugely epic. It's not mind-blowing, but the way that she puts her own struggles into words was something that I thought was absolutely clever. She goes in this whole thing with the main character, Tomozaki, in the idea that there's always a second place, but nobody remembers them. And I thought that was really the way that she, again, portrays that is really strong. And I really did, like I said, I thought she was a fantastic character. I just love her personality. It's great in the idea that you have a character that is so bubbly, but you think that they're possibly airheaded, but there's a lot more to them. And I, again, really love that. Yeah, Hinami is a very complicated character in the fact that, unfortunately, I think that she's only the only difficulty for me to get into as a review for the show being one season, which I'm pretty sure it's probably going to stick to a single season series. I don't really necessarily think this one's going to get a second season, just because I feel it's at a good stopping point, and I don't know that they're gonna want to get into more of it. I do honestly think this is one of those cases where this is probably just an advertisement, but not source material made, light novel bait. It feels complete. Hinami technically is a character that we haven't necessarily gotten into. She's still a great character. I love her personality. I love, all of her goofy little quirks that she kind of has as being essentially an otaku on the side. I did not want to put her in a best character list, mainly because she feels too perfect. She's one of those characters that I honestly don't think exists. Just mainly the idea that she games all the time. She apparently does track and field in the morning and the afternoon. She goes to school. She does social gatherings. But yet, where does she get all this time? But still, I love her. I think she's absolutely goofy whenever she does kind of let her facade come down. But like I said, I don't necessarily think that we've really gotten into her fully. And that's the only difficulty thing in the whole situation. But yeah. Really great characters overall, though. I really did thoroughly enjoy every single one of them, except for that one mean Gyaru girl. She can go away, but I think she was supposed to be an antagonist character, so it's fine. But yeah, thoroughly loved all the characters. The series looked good as well. I don't expect, crazy animation with a series like this, but they did have the emotional moments. They did a good job animating them. Really kind of breaks your heart when this stuff gets heavy. Good overall characters. Really did enjoy Tomozaki as a main character, and I think that's really kind of important for a show like this. You did kind of really see his struggles. You'd seen his turning points. You've seen him really kind of develop as a character, really mature, and I really did like that about it. So, yeah, overall, I have no problems with the show. I think it's a great show. Definitely suggest it to anybody. I think it does. It is a little cheesy starting out. Like I said, I think it does have a lot of, you do have to kind of get past that barrier of were we really going into how to start a conversation? It seems really dumb. But I think once it gets past that, starts developing the characters, I think right when it gets into Yuzu and her story, you're going to start getting the gist of the feeling of the characters and what they're kind of going through. The desire to change, the facades that people put up, the masks they wear. Like I said, I think in the end, it definitely did subvert my expectations for what it could be and what it ended up becoming. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on bottom tier character Tomozaki. Definitely suggest it. Check it out if any of that sounds interesting to you. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the show, or if you're going to check it out, leave a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.